of Cooking with Mr. Russo. So today, last time we did the Spanish class, we did talk about salsa, very very Mexican, very ethically South American thing. Today we are talking about Roman cooking. So it is fancy Roman cookbook by this guy called Apicius, and he is one of the oldest cookbooks ever created that we actually still have, and he has in it this amazing recipe for dormice. Now, dormice are mice, like the mice that you don't want running around your house, and what they used to do is they used to take the dormice, they would put them in cages, and they would feed them. They would feed them chestnuts, they'd feed them acorns, they would get them fatter and more delicious, seemingly. After a while, they would roast them, and they would put them in honey, or they put them in nuts, or it was actually a super, super important appetizer for the Romans. Also, sometimes they would take these dormice, they put them on skewers, and they would roast them, and you would be at the Colosseum or at an amphitheater, and there'd be a person walking around with what looked like chicken teriyaki, but actually was dormice. So actually, I was in recently 2 years ago. I had, I guess, the closest thing to dormice. I had guinea pig that people kept in their front yard, and the guinea pigs were in cages, and they fed them until it was time to be cooked. And they cooked the guinea pig and whatever when I was in Peru. So we don't actually have dormice, hopefully, in the house, but I do have chicken thighs, and that basically is going to be about the same. So what I did is I found this recipe, the Apicius recipe, the actual recipe that he had, and I found the closest ingredients that we have possibly in your kitchen. Here we have some paprika, right? We have some cumin, and the recipe originally asked for bay leaves, but we don't actually have any bay leaves in the house. So oregano, or if you're from England, oregano, that is super important. Honey, right? And here I have some flour. Another thing very important to point out, there are two kinds of storage bags. There's the regular storage bag and the freezer storage bag. I know that for a lot of people it doesn't matter, but for this case, because we're just putting it in the fridge, the regular storage bag is totally fine. Oh, I didn't tell you. This is a 2-day process. You have to do it the night before, and then put it in the fridge and leave it overnight, and then take it out to cook the next day. So first of all, let me read you the recipe. So the recipe here, right? So the recipe says, glires, that's the actual dormice. Ischio porcino, itam pulpis ex omni membro glirium trito, cum pipere nucleis, lacere liquamere, farcias glires, et sutos in tegula positos mites, in furnum aut farsos in clibano coques. They basically mites, throw all that stuff together, and coques, you cook it in furnum aut farsos in clibano. Furnum is like an oven, like an actual oven. Farsos in clibano is basically what we think of as just putting it in a pan, because farsos is kind of like a flat thing, and clibano is another word for oven, in case you're wondering what we're doing. So I measured out the stuff like an actual cooking show, because they do that all the time. They're like, oh, look, I have everything measured out. It's perfect. These are really fancy measuring spoons, right? You have a half teaspoon, quarter teaspoon, a teaspoon, tablespoon, right? Teaspoon, tablespoon. A tablespoon is 3 teaspoons, in case you're wondering. I'll put the recipe up later. But what we have is, we have 2 teaspoons of oregano. We have 2 teaspoons of cumin. We have 2 teaspoons of paprika. And actually, I'm sorry, no, not 2. Back up. This is supposed to be 2 bay leaves, so it's not 2 teaspoons, actually a half a teaspoon. I'm like, why is there none of that? That's why. There's a half a teaspoon of oregano. And so you just carefully measure them and just put them in. This is our flour. I just wanted to show you, just be careful when you're using flour, especially because it can be super messy and get everywhere. And this recipe calls for 1 cup of flour. Just make sure you can see the 1 right there, nice and big. Look at that, perfect. If you put a little more, a little less, that's probably fine. Just this is something that we, cooking is one of those things where you get a feel for it. Sometimes everything is exactly precise. Some things are not. If you're baking, like breads or cakes or whatever, you have to be precise. When it comes to this kind of stuff, not so much. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to take this flour, and this basically is gonna be our mixing bowl. Actually, let me get a real mixing bowl. That probably is a better idea, because there's a lot of chicken here. Hang on. All right, so I got a real mixing bowl. That works. It's gonna work a lot better, I promise. Throw this all together. The flour, the cumin, the paprika, the oregano that's kind of like fake bay leaves. Right, just mix it up. Spoon. You want to make sure it looks good. That all those other spices kind of get all the way through. This recipe specifically, it's a little spicy. This recipe calls for caraway seeds, but I hate caraway seeds, so I'm not putting them in. If you guys want to put caraway seeds in, you're more than welcome to. I'm not going to say no. It's your food. Wow. Actually, that's a little like, wow. That's crazy spice. Oh, yay, paprika. Nice. I love it. All right. So what we're going to do is just open up these chicken thighs. They're pretty good. They look pretty good. There's not a lot of fat on them, but if they do, the fat will cook off anyway for the most part. I'm going to take some bags. I'm going to put half of this mixture now in each bag. 3, 4, 5 scoops. This is a tablespoon. The big spoons we have in the house. If it's not precise, that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I put 5 tablespoons in each. And I can kind of eyeball the rest of it as I'm making a mess. But that's part of cooking. Cleaning up is part of cooking. All right, put that over there. Seasonal oil, I really like using olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil, virgin olive oil, whatever, it doesn't matter. You want to put a splash. Now, they always say put about a tablespoon, and about a tablespoon, if you're counting, goes like this. That's it. That's about a tablespoon of oil. And what that's going to do is that's going to help all this stuff stick to the dormice, the chicken, whatever you're putting in it, right? And right now I have 5 pieces of chicken, so I'm going to put 3 in one and 2 in the other. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. But because I just touched chicken, I'm going to wash my hands. Hang on a second. I just washed my hands, which is really good for the coronavirus, or actually keeping it away, but also for salmonella. People used to think a long time ago that when you use chicken, when you use pork, especially those two things, you can get salmonella. This is a weird stomach disease very easily from not washing your hands after working with or cooking with chicken or pork. For the most part, you really can't get salmonella unless you eat pork raw. But it's also always a good idea. Just get all that gunk off your hands and that weird kind of feeling. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix this up. We're gonna close the bags. Try to get the air out of them. right? So you're gonna close it about maybe almost all the way, squeeze the air out, and then just kind of get this stuff on the chicken as best as you can. Dormouse, not chicken, sorry, dormouse. This is Latin class now. Let's get the corner in there. And like many things, I don't know if you guys have done this a lot, for those of you who grill or who have a lot of, do a lot of cooking, or your folks do a lot of cooking, especially for tailgates or something like that, where you need to do a little prep work beforehand. This is perfect. You put this in the fridge. That's what we're gonna do. And one thing we forgot that we didn't really forget is once you have all this stuff mixed up, what you have to do is you have to put about a tablespoon of honey, which is actually a lot of honey. It's a tablespoon, right? Cute little bear, very important. I mean, if you don't have the honey with the bear in it, I mean, what kind of honey do you have? Tablespoon of honey, and more or less in there. Another little drop or two. Tablespoon of honey. More or less, a little drop or two. There we go. And again, you know, close it, get some of the air out very carefully. So almost close it and push all the air out. Close it again. Get that honey all around. This is gonna be amazing. Same thing on the other one. And like I said, this is a 2-day process, right? So you can't actually do anything with it right now. Which is good, because I've already had dinner. I made swordfish. It was delicious. At some point, maybe I'll show you guys how to do swordfish too. Super easy. Now, you gotta put it in the fridge. So we have these two. We gotta put them in the fridge. We have to keep it overnight. We can't do anything with them until tomorrow, so we might as well put them in the fridge. Find some room. Luckily, I emptied one of the shells earlier. So we'll worry about this tomorrow. Alright, so it's been at least a day. Actually, it's been more than a day, but that's okay. And we're going to get the I promise they aren't mice out of the fridge. I've been calling them mice for the last 2 days, and it's starting to creep me out because it's not actually mice, it's chicken. So what we have to do first of all is we're going to put them over here, just put them on the side. I have my pan out. I'm going to put this, we're going to actually put it in the oven. First thing you have to do before you turn the oven on is make sure there's nothing in there. I always leave these in the oven. So I'll make sure that those just go to the side for now. Right, we're going to set this at 425. And then we have to wait for it to preheat. All right, so I'll be right back. So then next thing you have to do, put a little olive oil in. And we're just going to lay these chicken thighs flat. We're going to put them in the oven for, now the recipe I have says somewhere around 17 or so minutes. But, you know, it's chicken, so it has to get to about 165 on the interior, and I'll show you guys when we pull that out. It's kind of a good idea to have a thermometer. I have a thermometer. I'm sure some of your folks do too. Come on, get it there. So lay this flat on the bottom. Is it all of it? Is there more left? That's it. Yeah, all right, good. All right. They all keep together and stuff. It's fine. That's why I put them in the oven. Actually, if the bones are in them, then you have to leave it in the oven for a little longer, but not for bones. Boneless can cook a little more quickly. So we're gonna put them in. I'm gonna wash my hands because they're kind of gross. Set the timer for 18 minutes. And then we wait 18 minutes. All right, so very important things you guys need. As the timer just beeped, pot holder, dishcloth. I actually use a dishcloth more often than I use a pot holder. I'm just weird that way. I want to pretend to be like a real chef. The pan, the baking dish we use is pretty big though, so I'm going to end up using both. Other very important thing you need, thermometer. This is a kind of a nice one. There's all different kinds of meat thermometers. We want to make sure that the chicken is at 165. That make sure that in the deepest part of the chicken, the thickest part of the chicken should be 165 without actually touching the pan. So let's see what we got. First thing, when you open any oven ever, do not stand directly in front of it. You have to stand back.
Choo!
Bless you.
I have to sneeze again. Choo! Excuse me.
First thing you have to do, very important, when you open up any oven, is make sure there's 425 degrees of heat coming out of there. You got to stand back so you're not whacked in the face. It's going to be hot air, right? So you're going to stand back a little bit, let the hot air out a little bit, then you're going to go and get the stuff out. That actually looks pretty good. And it's chicken thighs, so it's going to be pretty juicy. So you turn on the thermometer. Let's see what we got here. One 53, 160, 165. At 166, that's great. That one is 164, 5. We're good. I think we're in good shape here. 65, 67. Yeah, we're in great shape. All right, next thing we have to do now is get a plate. All right, so two things. One, in case you were wondering, Matt Barzell. I know that's for you, Aiden. The other thing is the Romans would probably have asparagus. It's a very Roman thing to have. And I've never made this before. I've never had this before. I'm slightly anxious, to be honest. Let's find out what this tastes like. Roman dormice. That's pretty good. I like it. I think next time I'd use a little more honey and a little less flour if I had to pick. Ooh, there's that paprika. Ooh, that's a nice kind of kick to it. That's real. I'll make this again. Well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys later.